Hi, everybody, and welcome into the latest edition of Saints Live, an inside look at Limestone Athletics from the Stevenson Dining Center on the campus of Limestone College and airing on 104.3 FM, Gaffney's Hot FM, our next to last show of the 2014 calendar year. That's right, the show on Thursday, the 20th of November, will be our last until we rejoin you once we turn the calendar to 2015 in the month of January. A lot going on at the Rock as far as athletic teams are concerned. The basketball season gets underway in a little over 24 hours from now as we do our show. And, of course, we still have fall sports teams that are moving and grooving as far as postseason play, either conference tournament championships, regionals, everything going on right now here at the Rock. Women's field hockey, number 6 in the latest NCAA Division II national ratings. Coach Lindsey Jackson and company getting to play host to the ECAC women's field hockey tournament. Of course, the Saints, the regular season champion in their first year as a member of the ECAC. The nationally 9th-ranked men's soccer team won the Conference Carolinas regular season championship. And now Coach Eric Alsop and company get set for the NCAA Division II regionals coming up this weekend. The volleyball program at Limestone, what a tear the Saints have been on, winning the last 6 matches and sweeping each of those. The Saints have won 18 consecutive sets. That is a program record. So 6 straight wins for Limestone and sweeping each of those as the Conference Carolinas tournament nears for them. Earlier we talked about basketball, the 2014-15 Limestone College basketball season getting underway on Friday, and both programs will be on the road. Remember, both the men's and women's programs preseason nationally ranked. The number 11 Limestone women will head to Coker to take on the Cobras at 5:30 on Friday night, and the Limestone men, preseason ranked number 21, will open on the road at Wingate in a 7 o'clock tip time. And, of course, more news and notes on Limestone Athletics available online at the official website of Saints Athletics, GoLimestoneSaints.com. We will talk wrestling today. That's right, Limestone's wrestling programs, one of the elite in NCAA Division II. We're going to talk with Kelly Revells, the first-year head coach of the wrestling program. And we're also going to talk with Ross Benzel, who was a 2013 NCAA national qualifier. So that and much more over the next 25 minutes on the latest edition of Saints Live. We'll continue from the Stevenson Dining Hall on the campus of Limestone after these messages on Gaffney's Hot FM. Welcome back, everyone, to Saints Live. An inside look at Limestone Athletics continues from the Stevenson Dining Hall, the campus of Limestone College. I'm Fabian Fuentes. Special thanks here on location to Dennis Fowler and Trey Bloomer. And also back on the radio side of things, back at WZZQ, to Jonathan Fitch. Well, the wrestling season is underway for the Saints, and a couple of good showings so far. And the gentleman up here with me now is in his first year as the head coach of the Saints, and Kelly Revells. And thanks so much for taking time to join us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about the first couple of meets so far for your team. You were at the Citadel, and you also got to participate at UNC Pembroke, a couple of star-studded fields, so to speak.
Yeah, those meets are always filled with a lot of D1 teams. Citadel, I know the Citadel always has a pretty good team, and it's just a lot of competition down there. You know, just it's good because a lot of our open tournaments we get to see teams like Duke, North Carolina State, of course Pembroke and those kind of schools. But a lot of kids get a lot of matches during those.
First season as the head coach of the Saints, what's it like making that transition from being an assistant coach to the head coach? What are some of the changes that you've had to make?
It's different, just a lot of time management, dealing with the budget, you know, that kind of stuff. Just a lot of time management, you know, just make sure things are in the right place to operate, and just make sure things are timely.
Tell us about your wrestling career. You were a former standout at Somerville High School, and then went off to the collegiate ranks, and you joined Limestone from Newberry College. So tell us about your wrestling career.
Formerly, I was a 2-time state champ out of Somerville, of course. they're always pretty good. I mean, we won, I think, state twice when I was there. Then I went to a junior college out in California, kind of long distance away, but I knew they had a great program. Got to train with some good people who were national champs, and I was also a national champ individually out there. But I got to train with some NCAA Division I national champs there, and some kids that wrestle in the Olympics too. And from there, I went on to Eastern Illinois University, where I was a two-time qualifier, and I did pretty good, round of 12. So,
tell us about the decision to join Limestone College.
Well, that was an easy choice, to be honest with you. I knew you guys had the facility, you guys had the winning ways already. And I think at that time it was actually time for me to get my own position and time for me to venture out, do my own things. But it was good. I mean, I like working here. I like the support here. So things are going well so far. You mentioned earlier, Kelly, the Limestone facilities. In some of my travels, I've not seen a whole lot of Division II programs in the Southeast that have a dedicated wrestling facility to basically go in and use whenever you need to have a practice. Yeah, true. That's even at Newberry, we didn't have a facility. We had a old supermarket that we renovated. We turned into a wrestling room. We put mats down. Here, we've got a wrestling room. We got offices. They got showers. They got laundry room. Most D2 programs don't have that. There's a couple that are here and there, but most D2, we've probably got some of the best facilities in the country, to be honest with you. Let's talk about, I know you have a large roster, but how about some of the key members of this year's Limestone wrestling team? Well, that was one of the reasons I chose, because I knew we had some good kids coming back, and I knew they had some talent into the program. Of course, we'll talk to Ross a little later, but Ross was a he was a Division II qualifier 2 years ago, coming off a redshirt year. Justin Tribble, same thing. He was a qualifier 2 years ago. Coming off a little bit of an injury last year where he didn't qualify, but he's back again, of course. We've got Caleb Rivera, who was junior college All-American coming into the program, who's going to be eligible this year, and won a couple tournaments last year, so he's back. Then we have just some other kids. We got some freshmen that are in the lineup that are doing good things. We got a heavyweight that's turning the corner and getting some wins for us now. Just some good things, get some good kids. Kelly Revells, the first-year head coach of the Limestone Wrestling program, is our guest during this segment of Saints Live. And Coach Revells mentioned Ross just a few minutes ago, Ross Benzel, our student-athlete guest, coming up in just a bit. Let's talk about how one becomes an NCAA qualifier for those that may not be familiar with a sport of wrestling. What does one have to do to become a qualifier for the Nationals? Well, to qualify for the Nationals, regular season really plays into the seeding purposes. It doesn't play that big of a role, but for seeding purposes, it plays a big role. Then you get to the regional tournament where you have to finish top 4 this year. Last year was top 5. We moved the regions back, so it's top 4 this year. Once you qualify top 4, and if you're 4th place, then we have what's called a true 4th match, which if you didn't wrestle the guy that wrestled 4th place, you get a chance at him. So it's pretty heated, it's pretty intense, but if you crack those top 4, then you qualify for Nationals. Now, let's talk about the schedule. We already mentioned UNCP. We already mentioned the Citadel. How about some other matches of note that are coming up this season? First duel is actually next week, next Thursday at Coker College. Trying to get a little bit of payback from last year. They're a second-year program. We lost them last year, so hopefully we get a little bit of revenge. Later on down the line, I know we have Newberry coming here, which is good. For some reason, we stopped the rivalry, but now we've kind of rekindled that, and so we'll have some home and home with them, home and away with them. So that'd be a good match, of course. Then, of course, we'll go to UNCP, who's the highest placed team in its region from around here at a duel there. So, well, we look forward to the 14-15 wrestling season. More on the Limestone roster, the schedule, and the Saints program is available online at GoLimestoneSaints.com. Kelly Revells, thanks so much for taking time to join us today. Thank you. Go Saints. Stay with us. Ross Benzel, wrestling stand-at, will be our guest on the backside of this timeout when Saints Live continues from the Stevenson Dining Center on the Limestone campus here on Gaffney's Hot FM.
Welcome back, everyone, to Saints Live. An inside look at Limestone College Athletics continues from the Stevenson Dining Center on Gaffney's Hot FM. It's a wrestling show only today. Earlier, we talked with Kelly Revells, who's in his first year as the head coach of the Saints. And the gentleman that's up here with us right now, we're glad he's able to compete again this year for the Limestone Wrestling program after a redshirt year a season ago. But a young man who was a national qualifier back in 2013. Ross Benzel joins us right now. Good to see you again, Ross.
Good to see you too.
Well, you got. Do we have some wrestlers here today? I heard we had some. Anybody? They're being really quiet.
Yeah, they are. They're over there.
Who do you have? Who's here for the wrestling program today, Ross?
We got our freshman heavyweight Cody Vandelin over there. We got Isaiah Bradley. We just need to get his eligibility in line, but he'll be back for us. Nick Lighton was our starting 49-pounder last year. He's doing good things. We expect him to do bigger things this year. Got other freshmen over there, too.
All right, we're expecting big things out of you this year. Now that you're back wrestling, talk about that year you had a couple of years ago when you were NCAA Division II qualifier.
It was exciting. It was my true freshman year, so I didn't really know how to handle it at first. I was pretty nervous going into it. One of the big matches I wrestled was at Midwest Classic. I wrestled the two-time returning national champion and beat him and shocked a bunch of people. I didn't know who he was because going into matches and stuff, I don't like to know who I'm wrestling because it psychs myself out. But I was pretty excited to being able to get to go to the national tournament, seeing how it's a good environment to be in. I want to get back there, of course, do better this year, but I'm excited.
Now, you redshirted last year. Has that kind of fueled you as an inspiration for this year?
Yeah, it kind of goes both ways. Took a year off for training, and now that I've got that year off, now I'm kind of nervous to get back into it, but I'm also really excited because I feel like I have the potential to do better this year than I did my freshman year.
You and I were talking off air, but you have been wrestling since the age of
2.
You had the opportunity to wrestle in the high school ranks. Kind of an interesting story. Tell us who your high school coach was.
Growing up, I've never had another wrestling coach besides my dad until I got to college, so it's pretty different. I didn't know what to expect once I got here, but I've had the honor to be under 2 sets of coaches, Coach Revells, our new coach, and then also Trent Goodale the past few years too. They're both getting me through good times.
So now I have to ask you, since you mentioned that until you got to the college ranks, you had only had one wrestling coach, I'd assume that you didn't need to be at school for there to be a wrestling practice going on. Some of that take place on the kitchen floor at the house with Dad there?
Yeah, I had 3 brothers too, so there's a lot of wrestling going on back in the house. We were constantly training. I felt like I had to do a lot more workouts because my dad was the coach, so he was always putting me to work back home doing wrestling stances. If ever I needed allowance money or something, I'd have to do extra push-ups or a stance drill, maybe some sprawls.
You make your way to Limestone from Virginia Beach, Virginia. Tell us about the decision to join the Saints.
When I visited here, it was a little different because back home all the wrestling programs that I could have gone to, the schools are a lot bigger, but I didn't want to go to a big school. I felt like I didn't fit into the big school. I wanted to go to a small school so I could know everyone. That's one of the big reasons I chose here, and also all the great facilities they have. We got our own weightlifting program and all of that stuff. All the other schools I visited that were D2 didn't have that. So,
what's it mean to have your own wrestling facility for the program here at Limestone? I mean, just to have this facility dedicated to wrestling, what does that mean?
It means a lot. I mean, growing up, wrestling in Virginia wasn't really that big of a sport until later on. So back when I was a kid, we always had to roll the wrestling mats out every time we wanted to wrestle or have practice or anything like that. So having our own place now is a big key factor in putting in a lot more extra work, and now we can get to work and set our goals and get them done instead of having to worry about all the other setbacks.
Ross Benzel, a 2013 NCAA National Qualifier, is our guest on this segment of Saints Live. Let's talk about your major and what you'd like to do after education and why.
I'm going to be and my major is physical education. I want to be a PE teacher. Also, because I want to coach high school wrestling, if not college wrestling, later on. So that's kind of my plan. I didn't really want to teach anything else. Nothing else kind of got to me.
Now, you compete in what weight division?
I compete in 133.
Okay, so Ross here is a 133 wrestler, and I don't mean to offend any of the other athletes, but I believe that wrestlers are probably among the best conditioned athletes out there. They're the strongest of the athletes out there because of the agility that you have, the leverage that you need to come up with some of these moves. Kind of take us through the training, because it's a rather rigorous training regimen for a lot of wrestlers.
Yeah, well, most wrestlers we're all trying to get down to the lowest weight class we can and compete at the most or the highest potential we can. So like when we're trying to maintain our weight, we always have to do extra workouts anyway, as long as putting training in to getting better. So we might be running 2 times a day or getting a bike workout in also after practice, just so we can maintain our weight. But at the same time, we're trying to improve our moves during practice, so we can't really worry about our weight during practice. But we do a lot of workouts for conditioning.
How about diet?
Diet's a key factor in wrestling. Most people think we just starve ourselves and don't really work or eat at all during season just so we can maintain weight. That's not the case. Most of the time we eat the same as everyone else, but we just have to work out a lot more to get it off.
How about some thoughts for the remainder of the 2014-15 season? As you and I talk, you've gotten a couple of matches under your belt with the Citadel and UNC Pembroke, but how about some thoughts on the rest of the season, Ross?
I'm excited. I get the honor to wrestle a bunch of people in my region that are ranked ahead of me before I even go into region, so I can wrestle them first. Like Anderson, he's ranked ahead of me, and so Coker. I know Coker Kid's gonna be a pretty good match. Their original 133 that beat me in overtime last year is redshirting this year, but apparently they have another solid 133, and we get to wrestle them next weekend, so I'm excited for that.
Well, we're looking forward to watching you and the rest of the team compete this year. Home matches are in the Timken Center. More news and notes. You can see a complete bio on Ross Benzel here. You can also take a look at the roster and the schedule. It's all at GoLimestoneSaints.com. Ross, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Ross Benzel, 2013 NCAA National Qualifier. We're back to drop the curtain on the latest edition of Saints Live when we continue from the Stevenson Dining Hall here on Gaffney's Hot FM.